Good afternoon to all, and welcome again to Tell Me Over Coffee, Cuéntamelo con un café. Our guest of today is an Egyptian-American actor who was born in Cairo, Egypt, and immigrated with his brother, sister, and parents to the U.S. at the age of 4. His father worked 3 jobs to support his family. His mother worked as a housekeeper in a hotel and at a fast food restaurant mopping floors. His experience with poverty at a young age gave him the strength to get involved with public service as he got older. He graduated with a bachelor's degree in sociology. After being accepted to several law schools, he decided to forego law school to attend the Clinton School of Public Service at Arkansas University, where he received a master's degree in public policy, public service. This opportunity allowed him to meet with elected officials, community activists, and leaders from many industries. He worked in maximum security prisons and correctional facilities. He worked with youth to keep them in programs and off the streets of tough neighborhoods so that they don't end up incarcerated in prison. Later, he decides to go back to Egypt for a few years, where he began focusing on issues pertaining to poverty in Egypt. While in Egypt, he taught U.S. history and English at an international school, which provided him a high level of respect for teachers. He then went on to work at the United Nations in Cairo, with individuals fleeing from countries due to conflict and disaster. He was responsible for providing decisions over 1,000 individuals on whether they were to be expelled from the country or could legally stay. I assume these weren't easy decisions. After that, he moved on to work at refugee camps in Kenya and Somalia with the United Nations to work with the most vulnerable and lowest income individuals on the planet. After some time, he returned to New Jersey, where he became the director of an immigration and refugee program based in Jersey City, building the office from the ground up to welcome refugees and immigrants into New Jersey. All this experience, as well as will and wish for change, took him to run for Congress in 2018. In 2016, he gets involved with the acting industry and starts training with known professionals such as Jen Monaco, Meisner acting technique at the William Esper Studio, Dan Pook, ballistics at the Kimball Studios, Sarah Wood, Improv 101 at the United Citizens Brigade, D.F. Sweedler, stand-up at the Comic Strip Live. He has been featured in over 60 productions and counting. He is also a writer, writing about his experiences in running for political office, experiencing a revolution in Egypt, and working for the UNHCR. He is known for the following short films: Lost in Love, which is in pre-production, Exodus, which is completed, these 2 of this year, one that has already been, I assume, seen, or at least it's finished, which is What Do I Owe You? Unwanted, Serial Lover, Good Intentions, Like Her, A Day in the Life of Who, Insomnia, Wake Up Call, The Green Branch. He is also known for the following TV series: Knowledge is King, Answers to Everything, Broad's Way, Aleppo. And he also worked in the following theater plays: The Not Cool, directed by Michael Carr, The Wizard of Oz, directed by Elizabeth Aquino. Our guest of today is also a very skilled person. He's an expert football and basketball player, is fluent in Spanish and Arabic, and has an intermediate level of French. He is also a singer, tenor, baritone, amongst being a host and stand-up comedian. Excuse me. Welcome, international actor Mahmoud Mahmoud.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks for putting this together.
It's great. It's really great. Well, firstly, this is my second interview since I got back from my COVID, and so happy to have you on board today. I know it's not the usual time that I do the interviews, but Mahmoud has something important to do in about an hour, so we're going to have to cut everything short and have very short answers to the questions, because otherwise he's not going to make it. So, if you don't mind, let's start.
Sure.
When did you hear the call for the first time for acting?
I think I've heard it at a very young age, maybe when I was like 6 or 7 years old.
Mhm.
And it came because acting was a way of performance for me to be able to express myself in um, just a very troubled, childhood. So a lot of conflict all the time between my mom and my dad and fighting all the time. And it was a way for me to be like, hey guys, like I'm here, and try to get their attention. Um, and my father actually, he said he worked with this famous Egyptian actor named Adil Imam, who's like loved and revered nowadays. And the one person that had a huge effect on me and with acting was Jim Carrey. And
Yeah.
and the reason, because Jim Carrey he was just so crazy with the faces he was making and the things that he was doing, and he was just being himself completely, and it just inspired me to be like, you know what, that's what I want to do. I want to never care what people think or say, and that's the way to go about doing it. So it's been there for a long time.
I assume that your family has always given you support.
It depends on who in my family.
Okay, let's talk about mom.
Yes, she's completely supportive. She's changed her thinking in. She's like, look, you go out to LA, you try it out for 4 months. If it doesn't work, you come back. I'm like, 4 months? Yeah, that
4 months is nothing. I mean, it's about time to get headshots and get your CV done.
Exactly. I was like, Mom, it's like, me like just walking in and being like, hi guys, and then just like walking straight out. But she's been extremely supportive, my mom, though. And recently she's like, no, you stay there for like until you're for the next 15 years if you have to. And
Yeah, until you're famous or you die, either one, doesn't care. Stay there. How about dad? Is he supportive?
my dad's going through a lot of health issues, and he and I had a conversation about 3 weeks ago, and he's been really supportive. He's like, look, give yourself time, because I always feel like I'm on this like time machine, and like I need to get there, and I don't know where there is, but like I'm working hard, and I want to do everything that I can in my power to make sure that I'm doing everything. And he's like, look, this is a thing where it's you just keep going. They give you one line here, and then they trust you, and then they give you a few more lines, and then a few more lines. So you keep building your reputation and trust. And he's been extremely supportive, to be honest with you. He's, when I do talk to him, he's there.
Mm-hmm. That's really important.
It's
I
my
mean,
brother. It's my brother who's he's like, look, man, you need to start settling down. You need
oh
to.
yeah, well, who cares? I mean, he's just a brother. I mean, he's not mom or dad, so
Yeah, exactly.
his word doesn't count. Who cares, anyways?
That's good advice. His opinion did affect me.
He's older than you.
Yeah, he's 11 years older than me.
Oh my God, then he's the dad, really.
He is a dad, and
He is the dad.
his opinion really did affect me, because I'm like, you know what, like I don't need to like get married in order to be successful. And why am I like being advised by him to like stop going after this as if this is unattainable? And then that's when it really hit me that if you really want something really bad in your life, if your family can talk you out of it, you don't want it that badly. And at that moment, I knew that's when this is for me, because I was ready to cut him off as my brother. Like, don't ever speak to me like this. If you want to keep this relationship, this is something that I'm going after. With my mom too. When she told me that thing about the 4 months, I was like, Mom, I'm not playing around. This is something I'm taking very seriously. So please don't ever tell me 4 months or anything like that again, because this is not. I don't have a plan B. I don't.
That's really, really good. But it's true. I mean, it's a really hard industry, and to be in the industry, working your way up, and if you don't have your family support, it's really, really hard to take. But well, I mean, it's like you say, if you really, really are passionate about what you do, you really don't care what they say, and you just go forward. So that's, that's how it is. Um, you've worked in theater, TV, and film. All three are quite different. Which one or ones did you enjoy most?
I think theater is different than the camera, just because you could be more expressive, you could be more loud. You got to shout all the way to the back so the people in the back can hear you. And you're like on the spot in front of everybody, where your nerves are showing to everybody, and it's like you're in it right there. So I do love the theater. I actually did The Wizard of Oz, and I was playing the role of the lion. Oh, you too?
I was Aunt Emma.
Oh, okay.
We have something in common.
I think that's a great role for you. Actually, I would have loved to
Yeah,
see.
and I'll tell you all about it later. But it was really, really, it was my first audition. It was my first improv. It was my first everything. I
Wow.
just went with the flow and just invented half of it, because I just had one sentence, and I wasn't gonna go for it, being there for about an hour and a half waiting my
Yeah.
turn just to say one sentence. So I just invented the rest. I had my time.
And that's exactly what I felt, is like you gotta invent on the spot sometimes. You gotta
Mhm.
invent who this character is,
True.
and you gotta invent multiple layers of things, and just have fun with it. With TV and film, there is a preparation process where, if you're not doing the preparation, like to me, I read the script 40, 50, 60 times, and I read it out loud, because then it
It's
helps you
mhm.
be that character. I do enjoy TV and film, just because I enjoy all the behind the scenes work of lighting, sound,
Mhm.
the camera, the directing, and all that. I think it's truly so many different pieces of the puzzle that come together and try to solve it out on the fly. So I enjoy both, and both are completely different, but both are part of the storytelling experience, and ultimately that's what I love, to bring
Mhm.
storytelling visuals to life.
Throughout your career, you played many different characters. Which one is your favorite and why?
There's one that I recently did. Just one is it's a movie called Method. It's actually in post production right now. They're gonna be showing the trailer really soon, so please check out
Mhm.
my Instagram page for that. Um, it is about an actor who is struggling, and he's obsessed with making it. All he wants to do is make it in the business and in life. And he is in a relationship with his wife, and she wants him to give up on acting to become more of a
Mhm.
family man, uh,
Yeah.
and to give up on his dreams. And she actually used to be in entertainment too, and she gave up on her dreams. Um, and along the movie, it shows that how much that they're splitting apart from each other over this and the
Mhm.
business. And then she surprises him somewhere towards the end of the film that she's pregnant. And now
Wow.
he's got to make a decision between his life of acting and being a family man. And he becomes resentful, and then you see how he starts becoming violent with her. Uh,
Mhm.
it's wise, because it's almost as if, I heard one time that I forgot which actor it was that said, the movies you do, they almost come to you at a specific moment in your life, and the roles that you play that are perfect and synonymous with what's happening to you in your life. And
Mhm.
it's parallel with me, and here I am. I'm like, it's an obsession and a passion for this craft, for this business, and at all odds, I really want to make sure that I make it, and
Mhm.
that I'm giving my all out there.
Mhm.
And it just spoke to me so deeply, and it was almost therapeutic in a sense. And I think that's the why.
Mhm. Would you say that this character was the most difficult for you to prepare?
Um, yes, yes, because you had to get into a different mental headspace. You have
Mhm.
to, I think with me, it's like you have to prepare. Absolutely. There's a preparation process, and you have to give yourself so in the preparation process, you're like, okay, it can go so many different ways, and you have to visualize how it's gonna go. But then once you're on the spot the day of, you just allow it to go wherever it goes, and you are happy that you gave it your best out there, and then you throw it away.
Would you say it has affected you personally?
Yeah, yeah, that film had many different places where I left my soul there in that location of where we were filming in New York. I left my soul because I had to punch a hole through a wall, and I actually had like my whole hand was swollen for like 3 weeks, and it still had hurt like 3 4 months after. There's a scene in there where like I'm just like sitting in front of a camera as if it's an audition, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, and so much so where I lost my voice for the next 3 days of filming, because it was 3 days in a row after that of filming, and I couldn't speak because I literally had lost my voice, and there was so much dialogue that the character had to do for the next 3 days. um, and there was like a lot of physicality with being violent and aggressive, uh,
Mhm.
to Janie, the person who plays Anna. Her real name is Anna, who's playing
Mhm.
Janie. So there was a lot of just leaving a lot of my soul out there in that film, and I even shaved my head completely. Just I had a lot of hair, and there's a scene where I'm just shaving my head. So I hope people enjoy it. But yeah, a lot of my soul was left out there.
I mean, when we start acting training or studying acting, we are usually taught how to get into a character, but normally we are not taught how to get out of it. Do you have a special technique that you use
To
to
get
get
out.
out of? Yeah, because I find it easier to get in. Well, I mean, I really go in and go out without a problem, but I find it easier to go in than to get out,
Yeah.
depending on how you are emotionally. It can be really a serious thing if you don't know how to get out of a character and you take the character home.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, I agree with you. I think pieces of everything in life stay with you. Act,
Mhm.
relationships leave a mark on you. The foods you eat, the places you travel. But you have to be mentally healthy to be able to say, this was for this amount of time, uh,
Mhm.
and now I am moving on to something new, and I'm able to move on to things because I
Mhm.
know that this life is temporary. Everything is temporary. To be honest with you, we are temporary beings. We're here for a short amount of time, and then we're gonna pass. So we need to make sure that we hold nothing too serious in our lives.
Mhm.
Have that outlook on life, and I know that that's where it starts and where it ends. And I think a lot of meditation and a lot of prayers help me in that process.
Mhm. One of your first films was The Green Branch with the
Mm,
director Peter Kutavas. Tell
yes,
us about the project. How was the experience working in front of the camera for the first time?
yeah, that was very interesting. Wow, you're taking me back. Um, it was it was comfortable. I just felt comfortable because I enjoyed working with Peter and the cast and the crew, but it was just interesting to learn on the spot and how things were. And it was almost like I believe that one of the main actors had like just dropped from working the project 2 days before. And then Peter finds my contact information. He's like, "Look, I love your look. You know, I liked your audition tape. Are you available this day?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." I just said yes. I'm in the business of saying yes to everything.
Yeah.
Um, and I show up on set not really knowing what to expect, thinking that I'm an amateur, thinking that you know I'm a fraud and I don't belong there, and I have imposter syndrome. And I just do. I read the scripts. I'm like, who is this person? Um, and I just play. I think that's what I had. I play, but I'm for real. Um, and I didn't take. I was nervous, but I didn't allow those nerves to overtake me. And I'm like, you have to just be this person. And I think that's what it was like for me. It was an enjoyable experience, and I still remember it to this day because as I look back at the footage and the videotape, there's quite a bit that was good, and there was quite a bit that can be improved on. Um, and you realize that it's your first time, so you don't get too upset with yourself, but you can always get better.
Mm-hmm.
So
Are you very critic with yourself? I mean, I tend not to look at my jobs. I don't like to. I mean, I have to do it because obviously I need my footages for my reels and this and that. But I tend not to look a lot because otherwise I just start finding all this negative things everywhere. And I could have done this. I could have said this way. Do you usually do that, or
yeah.
I mean, you just find yourself it's okay, and hey, I mean, it's part of the job, and if like they say, right? If the director didn't say otherwise, who am I to be so hard on myself?
Yeah. No, I'm much harder on myself than anybody is. I'm like whoever's here being hard on me, I'm like so much harder because no takes. I'm more hard on myself in the moment of when we're shooting the scene,
Mhm.
than I am when watching it later on. I still am hard when I'm watching it later on, but in the scene, I'm like, that wasn't good. I didn't like that take. And I go to the director, I'm like, can we take it one more time? And I'm like, I didn't like this because I could have did a little bit different of a physicality movement here,
Mhm.
or the way I said this line, it was a little bit flat, or I could have been a little bit higher of my pitch and my intonation, or I was a little bit too stiff in the moment, in my speech and my movement, or like there wasn't any range in that monologue.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm extremely like I've never been in a take where I'm like, yeah, that was. There's been like a few where I'm like, yes, that was it, that was great, and I know that was it, and you can feel when it's great acting too, especially when I'm doing the self tape auditions. I'm like, yep, that's all. We don't need to do it more than twice. But when I'm watching it back, like after,
Mhm.
I am still hard on myself, but I trust that, the editor and the director in the post-production process in the editing room,
Mhm.
that, they saw the amount of different takes and they know how to piece it together to make it look good. But there are still some moments where I'm like, that still could have been better.
You think that all the things you've lived since you started at a very young age, well, with the needed people, with politics, with refugees, your parents coming from a humble family, etc., and this job not being an easy one, do you think you have to have this feeling of always trying to find someone's approval? That what you're doing it right? That you're good at what you're doing? Or do you think that it's good enough that you know it?
I don't think I'm seeking for others' approvals in this process. I think I'm seeking for my approval, and
Mhm.
I'm never approving of myself, you know? And that's why I just feel like I'm a hamster on a treadmill where I just don't stop. I'm continuously going because you're never you're never gonna be enough, right?
Oh,
Like no matter what, like
okay.
you can always do more. Like if
But,
it's
but that's your answer. You're never going to be enough. So you have to quit. This is just like when a screenplayer or a screenwriter is writing a screenplay, and it comes to a point that he has to close it. It can
yeah,
be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. But if he doesn't close it, he'll never go on. And he will never be able, or she will never be able to make it real in a film.
yeah,
This is the same thing. You have to come to a point where you say, okay, I am good. This is my talent. I'm good in this and this and this. That's how it is. And unless, because obviously, since we are so critique with ourselves, it's the other person who is behind the camera who is supposed to tell you, okay, good, but let's try and do it this way.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, your limit is there. We all have to have a limit of saying, okay,
Yeah,
this
no,
is who I am, and this is what I know, and this is how I work.
yeah. In individual projects, I'm like that. In individual projects, I know when to be like, all right, like you're being a little bit too much on yourself. Pump up the brakes. The director saw, and you know, I don't give too much pushback to the director because I'm like, you know what, that's where the final say is. This person, I respect that, right? And I say that the director has that final word, and he's the eyes and the vision, and he knows he saw something different, he'd give an adjustment, or he'd play it this way. I'm not saying in my overall career that like I just don't stop in that way because, you know, if you put the foot on the gas, you know, you're gonna eventually get somewhere. But if you just sit back and waiting for somebody to call you, or you're waiting for somebody to give you a role, or you don't go out and create your own, you might be sitting forever because this is art, right? Like you got to look at it as if you're a painter. If Vincent Van Gogh doesn't be like, okay, here's the white board, and I'm gonna take a brush and I'm gonna take the colors and I'm gonna start painting, it's never gonna get created. Vincent Van Gogh be like, oh, well, this person is going to bring me the board, he's going to bring me the brushes, and then he's going to ask me to paint. No, he did it on himself, and he's like, you know what? I got a story to tell. I have a paper, pen, and a hand. I'm going to start writing that out. I'm going to get a camera. I'm going to get the video man, and we're going to make this together somehow. I don't know how. I don't have the money, but, you know, I don't need all that.
You have worked with many well-known directors such as Caterina Campagna, Alfred Costello, Tyler Miguel Mercer, Michelle C. Yu. You worked with her 3 times. Terence Kirton, L. Fraser, Aimende, oh my God, this is a very hard name. Negbenebor Sela, I'm sorry, it's just a very complicated name. Julian Muller, Gary Sketbon, Peter Kutavas, Talib Abdul Muhammad, Greg Lacan, Tristan Stafford, and Monique Teagle, among others.
Yes.
How was the experience? I can imagine that there must be, I mean, so many memorable moments working with all these directors. Now that they don't hear us, do you have a favorite one?
No favorites.
No favorites. But you did work with Michelle 3 times.
Yeah, I enjoy working with Michelle.
I got you there. Sorry.
I also worked with Tommy a few times. I worked with Talib a few times. I worked with Monique a few times as well. You just, I don't know, I think energy has you gravitating towards some more than others, and that's not to say that one is better than the other.
That's just a question of skin, like I say.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a few that I know that I'll be working with again and again. Tyler is To What Do I Owe? I think I'm going to be working with him again. I enjoyed working with him. I think he's great. Tommy, I know I'm going to be working with a whole bunch of times. And I think it's, you know, it's who do you gravitate towards because you understand what they're looking for and they understand what you can do. And then there's this trust in one another that there's like this ultimate freedom and this range to be like, I believe in your work. I think you're a creative and you're an artist. And here's what I have in my mind. And here's what you have in your mind. And let's just go out there and improvise. And a lot of it becomes improvise sometimes in that, like, these are the words on the paper, but take it to where you believe that it should go with what's kind of on the paper. And, you know, with Michelle, for example, sometimes, you know, in the scene, Michelle's like, this is how I think it could go. And then I'm like, all right, I think I know what you're talking about. And I take it a whole different way. She's like, oh, wow, I didn't see that. And that was great. And then you see the final product and I'm like, wow, this is good work. This is good art. And I think that that's art at the end of the day. It's, you know, you have this vision and then the day of, you know, you did everything before to prepare. And then the day of, you you do something, and sometimes there's some unexpected things, but it's not as if people think that acting is like I'm showing up and I'm saying these things and there it is, that's acting. It's no, it's I'm reading this character, I got to find out, you know, who this character is, where they're located, what's the setting, what's the relationship to the other person in this character, what's their objective, and what do they want.
Mhm.
Um, and then it's, you know, working with the director in order to be like,
Mhm.
are we there yet?
Well, really, it's about more about creating, because you are creating a story. You are creating and telling a story. You are creating a person who has no voice, no skin, no face, and you are giving. You are allowing your body. You're just handing in your body, so this person, this character, becomes to life and is able to tell his or her story. So I mean, there is a lot of hard work, and it is true that at the end of the day, you are it's a teamwork, and you do have to have this skin feeling with the director and with the rest of the team, because it's your new family, the new family that you are going to be with the days, weeks, or months. And it is important for the final result. It's very, very important, because you can see it. You can see it at the end. At the final result, you can see the the teamwork. When something is done in a teamwork way, you can see it in the final result. It's I just find it just great. Tell us, what made you leave everything behind and go back to Egypt? I mean, for God's sake, you left Egypt when you were 4. I don't even know if you remembered Egypt, unless you went back for vacations. But if not, I mean, you left it all behind and you went to Cairo.
Yeah. I think I was trying to find myself and my identity. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I grew up in this household that, you know, mother and father and sister and brother were Egyptian and we were speaking Arabic. Then I stepped outside in New Jersey and everybody was different, languages different, culture, customs, and all that. And then once you get around that college age and after college age, you graduate college, you want to explore yourself and understand yourself and your roots a little bit more. So, you know, I went back to try to, you know, figure out who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I also wanted to travel the world, and I envisioned myself and I visualized myself also working for the UN.
Mm-hmm.
So I went out there and I did that. You know, I put my mind to something and I did it.
Do you think that all this experience working with the UN in Egypt, and later back in New Jersey with the immigration and refugee program, did this help you in any way with your acting career?
Absolutely, I think it helped ground me. I think it helped guide me. I think it helped give me a you know, a sense of purpose in life.
Hmm.
Why I'm doing this, who I'm doing this for. And it gave me life stories. Like I said earlier, that I think everything shapes you and molds you and leaves its mark on you, and it makes you more of an interesting person. And
Hmm.
I don't think it's like, oh, I'm an interesting person because I did this. I think it's that just affects you, who you are. You may not even realize it, but it builds your character, and it either strengthens you or breaks you down, whatever you go through in life. And I think those things um, helped ground me in what I went through.
Hmm. You are of Arab descendant. Would you say that you have the same opportunities as a non-Arab, not only character-wise, but also character-wise and category, but also money-wise? Do you usually are you usually offered Arab roles
Yeah,
in acting?
yeah. So of course not. Of course, I'm not the same as a person who's white, who with blonde hair, blue eyes, because you know there's just way more roles for that because we're in America, right? Like America's
Hmm.
population is 360 million people, and you know less than 1% is Arab. So of course, there's just going to be less roles. Uh,
Hmm.
and then that 1% gets cut even less because you know you break up the female to male population, you break up the elderly population versus how many people are under 18. um, so just by definition, no. We're also, I mean, also coming in at an interesting time where you know September 11th was 2001, 19 years ago or 20 years ago now. So right after that, and for the next 10 to 15 years, you know, an Arab Muslim person was not going to play the role of a hero. In fact, it was
Mhm.
the role of a villain. And
Mhm.
roles there were terrorist number one, terrorist number two, because on screen they didn't want to sell any roles that made the Muslim person look like heroes. Um, and so that's for what it is. And with that, you know, of course, the money's going to be different as well too. Um, Interestingly enough, though, I've been connecting with lots of Arab, Middle Eastern, and Muslim writers who want to be able to tell different stories.
Mhm.
Either they've experienced or their family and friends have experienced. So times are changing. Also, people who are not Middle Eastern, Muslim, or Arab are also wanting to tell different stories as well.
Mhm.
Uh, so things are, I don't want to say completely changing, but you know, different stories are being told.
Mhm. Well, I was talking to a fellow actor on Tuesday when I was interviewing him. He is from Morocco, but he's from the Spanish side. He was born in Ceuta, but he is of Moroccan origins. His parents are Moroccan. It's just that they've been living there for forever. And we were talking about this Manasa. I asked him if it was because now, for instance, now there's Manasa started in the United States, and now there's a Manasa in, it's a MENA UK, not Manasa, it's a MENA UK in London. And I was asking him because here, for instance, in Spain, we do have this platform, this we could call it organization in a way, the Black View, which englobes all the African descendant Black people, actors here in Spain. And they are all together independently, that they have their own agents. They all are part of this group. And I was asking him, because here in Spain, we do have a lot of Arab actors and actors from Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco. And he said, well, we should have one of these, but obviously it's hard work to create these things. Do you think it is essential that these, how could we call it, platform? It could be a platform. It could be a window to all these actors, showing them not only that, okay, we are so many actors of these countries, or of well, yeah, it's really countries because it's a Middle Eastern, North African, but also in order to be able to not prove, because you don't have to prove that an actor is an actor. An actor acts. That's it. I mean, acts a character. He becomes the character, whether the character is a police officer, is a terrorist, is a gay husband who has 4 children, whatever. He's an actor. He's just acting. It's not him as a person, or it's not her as a person. But I do understand, because a lot of my fellow actors here in Spain, in my case, it's a bit different because I'm blonde. I'm not naturally blonde, but I'm blonde. But I'm very white. I don't have accents when I speak the languages, so I could just go on forever. But I do have Spanish blood, and I have Turkish and Moroccan and French and Portuguese. It's a big, huge mixture. But when I have fellow friends who are North African too, and obviously they are darker in skin, not only men, but also women, and they always get the typical roles. Either they're terrorists, or she's a prostitute, or she's a maid, or why can't she be a doctor? Why can't she be the CEO of a company or of a bank? Why not a teacher? Same thing with the guys. I mean, why not? It's always, you know, classifying. It's just like with Black people. It's the same thing. It's always classifying. And here there are, for instance, many Latin American actresses and actors, and they either go for handmaids, or they go for prostitutes. But if you go to the Middle East, to the Eastern countries such as Ukraine, Romania, all these people, they are always working as prostitutes. I don't understand why. So How do you think all this that I've just said, how can, obviously, we all have to pitch in to make changes. How can we make this change?
I think it's simple. I think it's become the decision makers at the top, right? Because actors are just, as far as decision making, they're the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Who are the people that are up here? It's the heads of the studios. It's the
Mhm.
executives. It's the producers, the
Mhm.
executive producers. Those are the people at the decision making table, the ones who you call the suits, that are
Mhm.
making the decision of what gets greenlit, what are the
Mhm.
projects that get made, and where's the financing going to be put.
Yeah.
Certain projects and why certain projects are told and what aren't. So by
Mhm.
the time that gets passed down, they choose who the director is, they choose who the writers are, and all of that. You choose different stories based
Mhm.
on where the money's going to go.
Yeah.
And I think that there is a thirst to tell different stories now,
Mhm.
because how many times are you going to tell the same story? So I mean, I think it's simple. That's where the decision is.
There's a casting director in LA that I'm sure you know, which is Hamza Samam.
Mhm.
He's the CEO of Arab American Casting.
Yeah.
Have you worked a lot with him?
I've not worked a lot, actually. I've never worked with Hamza. I am familiar with him.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, my neighbor who lives a few doors down, 2 doors down, is actually telling me that he's going to connect me with Hamza, uh,
Mm-hmm.
with him. I know that they're shooting a film in Egypt coming
Yeah.
up, but no, I've never worked with him. But please do feel free to put me in touch with him if.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, he also created so like a website with it's not a website, so like a platform with Wix,
Mhm.
and it's called Mena, and all the Menas are there.
Yeah, part of that.
So yeah, so if you're part of that, then there is, I think there was an audition that they were looking for people who spoke Syrian.
Mm.
Well, it's not, and maybe it's the same film that's going to be shot in Egypt. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But well, I do agree with you. It's obviously everything comes from the high tops, but this is like everything. I mean, if to put an example, if Rosa Parks wouldn't have said, "No, I'm not moving from my chair, and I'm not going to get up and go to the end of the bus," if she wouldn't have said that, she wouldn't have done that, nothing would have changed.
Right.
So change comes from one person
Mm.
moving, one person. That's how change starts, and I think it's very important. Um, let's go into politics. Why on earth, being so creative, um, did you want to go for Congress in 2018? I mean, you were already an actor by then.
Yeah, I was. I think it was just such an interesting period in American history at that point. Um, and there was so much that needed to be said and needed to
Mhm.
be expressed and wasn't being said or expressed. And I think it was my way to, you know, showcase what I wanted to say. So, I was like, okay, well, like nobody's saying this. I'm going to pick up the microphone and I'm going to stand in front of the auditorium and say some stuff, and whoever likes what I'm saying, come with me, and whoever doesn't, you can listen to me and walk away. And I think that that's basically what it was and where it came from.
Do you still have the idea of going into politics? Or could politics be your plan B if you ever decide just to quit acting?
I think the fact that you even asked that, I think it's an interesting question. um, I don't want to say no. It's just not on my brain right now.
Hmm.
I don't have any. I don't have, it's not on my plan. Like in my 5-year plan, it's not there. I don't. It's not in my 10-year plan either.
Hmm.
Could it be someday in the future? Who knows? I mean, life is crazy. I never try to think that I'm a fortune teller. Life is.
Ask Arnold. He was an actor for some time, then he went to governor. So
Yeah, and I think Ronald Reagan too.
yeah, he went for president. He was even higher. That's something different.
And he was a successful film actor too. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, there's a whole bunch. Donald Trump, right?
Oh, come on.
No?
Okay, let's not talk about him, please. No, absolutely not. We already have enough with one blonde here. We don't need another blonde. Okie doke. So, do you think that auditions, okay, let's talk about a professional actor or actress that has, quite an extensive career experience, etc. Do you think auditions are really necessaries, or on the contrary, with their experience, their reels, with their IMDb, that should be enough?
Yeah.
Obviously, obviously you have a chat with the actor or the actress, and you have a reading, a cold reading or whatever, to see if that talent fits the character or not. But do you think you have to go there and learn your lines and just, and because, for instance, in the States, you can do the audition with your lines in your hand. Here in Spain, no, you have to learn them.
Wow.
Oh, yes. You don't use the paper. No, you learn your lines and you go for audition, no
Wow.
matter how long their lines are.
Yeah.
So
I'm
what do you
always
think of this?
I'm always so impressed with international actors, like people from Spain. The British actors are great. Australian
Mhm.
actors are really good. Um, they're the three who come to top of mind. Uh,
Mhm.
but I do believe that it is helpful for sure, and I do want to say necessary for you as the actor and artist to understand whether you are right for that role or not, and for the director to see whether you're right for that role or not. Because there's been a lot of movies where they just put on this big name actor and
Mhm.
it didn't work out, and I think a lot of it didn't work out because there was no audition process. So I think it's like with anything in life, there has to be this period of, there's an interview to see if you're right for it or not. Like, you know what I
But
mean?
it's very different. We're talking about an interview because the way you emotionally, the way how you go to and you present yourself in an audition that day you could have gotten up with a headache or a toothache, or you didn't sleep well, or you're very nervous, whatever. The outcome of your audition is never going to be the same as if we are just talking now over this program, and I tell you, okay, Mahmoud, let's do the cold reading. Imagine that we are on the beach, we're having fun around the fire in the sand and this and that, and all of a sudden you see the girl over there deliver. It's never going to be the same thing.
Yeah, but when you're on,
It's very cold. An audition usually is a very cold interview. You come, hello, hi, who are you? My name is so and so, and okay, are you ready? Okay, I'll be giving you the replica. Okay, and then you have someone who is, oh yes, oh yeah, right. Okay, come on in and let me see. And then you have to put 100% in, when it's so much easier when you do have someone else on the other side who is cold reading, acting with you. It makes it so much easier. We're talking about professional actors, okay? We're not talking about people who are starting. I do understand that part. But if you're a professional actor and you do, let's say, I don't know, you have what, 10 years of career? Why would you have to audition? An audition, that you get to the place, there are so-and-so people waiting there, and okay, who's next, and this and that. This is what I mean about auditioning.
yeah, I don't disagree with you, but I think also on the day of filming, you're gonna have 100 lights in your face. You're gonna have a camera all up in your mouth. Um, that's intense pressure too. So like when you walk into an
It's
audition,
very different from an audition, Mahmoud. One thing is that you don't have one person talking to you. You look over there behind the camera and there's about 30 people. But when you are acting, you forget about everything. I don't know. I don't know about you or everyone else, but I am very nervous on the first day, the first shooting day. But once I get to the set, okay, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do this, and this is how we're gonna start. Great. We start and that's it. But an audition, it's like you have to prove that you are fit for that role. And so you're already nervous because you don't know, maybe you don't even know the casting director because you've never worked with that casting director. It's the first time that person's seeing you. That person doesn't know you, or it's the director straight. And, you know, I don't know, there's a lot of factors that can influence a bad or a good audition.
Yeah.
And there have been many actors who didn't get the role because they were very nervous on the audition day.
So, final answer, if you have that personality where everybody knows, you know, what your personality is, and that's just who you are, like you've built a reputation over long periods of time, and like this is like if you had a role for like this little boy who, you know, migrated from a different country, he was in an identity crisis, he ran for politics, and an actor, you would be like, Mahmoud is the perfect person. Like I don't need to audition for that role. I just show up. Like, you know, the story, everybody knows my story. I've built up a reputation for myself over years and years, and people know who I am and what I can deliver. That is fine. But if there's like a story that doesn't necessarily 100% fit, I don't think that just because you're a big name, you just show up. Philip Seymour Hoffman, he always auditioned, and there might not be 10 greater actors in the history of cinema than Philip Seymour Hoffman, and he said, I still love to audition. I need to audition because I need to know whether I'm right.
One thing is that, I mean, I do know people who do need to audition because it's the only way they feel they are, how you say it, oh God, that they are worthy of that role and of that job, because I have proven to you that I can be that character. Right. But there are many others who don't think that way. Especially there was this anecdote that someone told me about. I can't remember the American actress. Well, they called her in for an audition, and she thought it was just going to be a one-on-one audition with the director. And when she got there to the place, there were so many people, and she just didn't understand why they had proposed this audition this way. And she went back home. She came back because she was still on time. And when it was her time and would turn also, and they asked her, can you please get ready to audition? I don't know if she felt that she was sort of like a little bit insulted, but she went to the casting director, and she took out her Oscar and put it on the table and said, this is my audition. And she went back, she got her, and she just left.
Wow.
That's what she did. She said, listen, I do understand that when you start, you are starting, etc. And even maybe you still, it's not a matter of years. It's a matter of, and it's not a matter of being very famous. It's just a matter of having that role that makes your talent go wow to everyone. And when I mean everyone, not only spectators, I'm talking about people in the industry. Then when you have all this, and then you keep on getting all these wow characters and wow jobs, why on earth would you want to audition this person with so many people waiting for their turn, and this person has an Oscar, or can have a Goya or a Golden Globe or whatever? Well, she just said that. Here is my audition. And she left. She said, that's it. Just as if she would have taken the mic and just let it go. All right, guys? You want me, you know where I am. But I mean, it's just things that happen. And I did hear about another actress here in Spain say this exactly the same thing. She's worked with Pedro Almodovar. She's worked with so many known directors. She's very well known. She is she's been awarded so many times. And once a casting director asked her to come in to audition along with other people. And she said, no. You want a cold reading? You want a one-on-one? Perfect. I'm not going to be there with everyone else. I have more than 20 years on my back. And we're not talking about small roles or secondary roles or things like that. We're talking about, lead or co-lead and things like that. She said, no, It's sort of like an insult. I mean, it's not respecting her career and her experience. Well, I guess it's just a little bit of everything in the industry. That's the way it works. I mean, it's maybe sometimes it's also a little bit more of our own ego as an actor. So yeah. Oh, that would be for another day, talking about egos.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We're getting very close. And before I say goodbye, where do you see yourself in what, 5 or 10 years?
Yeah. I tend not to fall in love with those questions, just because life is so crazy, that I've been taught that you definitely make your own personal plans, right? Like
Mhm.
I definitely have those own personal plans. Um, I don't know if I make 10-year plans, right? Because things shift and adjust, um, and the world goes through coronavirus, right? Like we all have these plans. Like, did we ever think a year ago from now that we would be sitting at homes in your houses for the next year, not able to go out, having to wear masks, can't go to restaurants, all these things? No. So like you can make plans and then plans get completely altered, right? Mike Tyson has one of my favorite quotes. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Um, But what I hope is that I will continue growing in this industry. I will continue working on my craft. I will continue improving as and not just an actor, which is first and foremost above all, but
Mhm.
the area of writing, producing.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
what I was going to ask you now. If have you got any projects, any own projects that you would like to take forward?
yeah,
Would you work as an actor in your own projects, or would you prefer to direct them?
yeah, no, I'm working on two projects, and both of them I have myself working in them, in some Um, but yes, I would love to direct one day, absolutely. And I think me being a director in other fields, it doesn't necessarily translate that I'm going to be a good director, but I can definitely see myself directing. It's something that I want to.
Mhm.
I also want to produce as well. So
Yeah.
I think this industry and this art is just so beautiful and amazing. And I think there's so many things that are not just acting. And if you're just an actor the whole time, you're not making yourself more of a commodity. You're a business.
Yeah.
I'm a business. I'm a CEO. So I
Mhm.
want to make sure that I am a valuable asset. And you got to put your hand in different pots and
Mhm.
be that.
True. Anything else you would like to add?
I would like to add that I am grateful. I always like to start and end with gratitude. I am grateful to have spent this lovely morning here in LA, 6:30 right now. Started at 5:30. That I started it with you with such a pleasant face and a pleasant smile. Great questions. Your questions helped me as much as It's also for the audience, but very therapeutic.
Hmm.
And I'm glad that you and I got a chance to connect. Virtual and social media brings people close together. Um,
True.
I really just do want to say that I admire you. I
Well,
admire
thank you.
done in this business, and I'm happy of this platform that you're creating for other people and for yourself, and being able to put out content to help others along the way. So, my sincerest respect and gratitude to you.
Thank you. Well, that's the idea, really. It's creating a network for all our fellow companions of this industry, not only here in Spain, but international wise. I just think it's very important that we each explain how we live our job, how we live our career, because we are all so very different. And you never know. I mean, you never know who out of all the people I've interviewed maybe giving you a job in about a year. Who knows? I mean, it's really a network thing,
You
which
know,
I
I'm sorry. I want to call this. I said that I'm gonna be playing a big role in uh, a role in either a series or a film. Netflix produced
well,
produced in Spain, and
really.
all in Spanish.
So
And
you're going to be here in Spain?
you're gonna be in it. What?
You're going to be in Spain?
It's not there yet. I'm calling it out to the universe that it will happen.
But it's going to be shot in Spain.
It's gonna be in Spain. Yes.
Oh yeah, well then give me a shout. Yeah, we'll see you and have a chat and see how things are going. That'll be great.
You're gonna be in this film.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, then we do have a lot of things to talk about.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let you go because otherwise you're going to be late for your next connection. Mahmoud, it's been a pleasure sharing this afternoon with you at Tell Me Over Coffee and letting us know a little bit more about you. I would also like to thank you all for not only following this interview, but being patient upon my return. It's been about, a month and a half, and it was really hard. But here I am, very happy to be back and very happy to have you guys always supporting culture, because life without culture is very, very boring. You can follow Mahmoud's career on his social media, which I will include in my IGTV and the YouTube channel. And just to let you know that our next guest for Thursday is nominated Spanish director and screenwriter Victor Matellano. So don't miss it. Please be very responsible and stay safe. Thank you all. Thank you, Mahmoud.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.